Captain Dex Morrison had seen his share of strange assignments in 15 years of deep space exploration, but nothing quite like this. The communication terminal in his quarters buzzed with an urgent message from Fleet Command, and the holographic display showed a face he didn't recognize. Woman with striking features that seemed almost too perfect to be human. The briefing room on Station Omega felt sterile and cold as Dex entered, his boots clicking against the polished metal floor. Admiral Torres sat at the head of the table, her expression unreadable, while beside her stood the most beautiful woman Dex had ever seen. She was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly glow, long silver hair that caught the light like liquid mercury, and eyes that held the depth of distant galaxies. Captain Morrison, meet Ambassador Kiravos from the planet Nexera, Admiral Torres announced. She be accompanying you on this mission. Dex extended his hand, and when Kira took it, he felt a strange warmth spread through his palm. Her grip was firm but gentle, and her skin felt impossibly soft. Pleasure to meet you, Ambassador, he said, trying to keep his voice professional despite the way his pulse quickened. The pleasure is mine, Captain, Kira replied, her voice carrying a melodic quality that made his name sound like music. I have studied your mission records. Your reputation for success in dangerous situations is quite impressive. Admiral Torres cleared her throat. Your mission is to investigate the derelict research station in the Kepler sector. Intelligence suggests it may contain valuable alien technology that could benefit both our species. The station has been silent for 3 months. As they reviewed the mission parameters, Dex found himself stealing glances at Kira. There was something about her that drew his attention beyond her obvious beauty. The way she moved was fluid and graceful, like she was dancing through space rather than walking. Her questions about the mission showed intelligence and strategic thinking that impressed him. The journey begins their ship. The Endeavor was a sleek reconnaissance vessel designed for 2-person crews. As they prepared for departure, Dex noticed Kira examining the ship's systems with curious intensity. Her fingers moved over the control panels with surprising familiarity. You seem to know your way around human technology, he observed as they settled into the cockpit. Kira smiled, and the expression transformed her already stunning features into something that made his breath catch. My people have been studying human engineering for some time. We find your approach to problem-solving quite fascinating. During the 3-day journey to the Kepler sector, Dex found himself drawn into conversations with Kira that ranged from interstellar politics to personal philosophies. She spoke about her homeworld with a wistful tone, describing crystalline cities that rose from lavender seas and forests where the trees sang in harmonious frequencies. What about you, Captain? She asked one evening as they shared a meal in the ship's small dining area. What drives a human to explore the depths of space? Dex considered the question carefully. I suppose it's the need to understand what's out there, to push beyond the boundaries of what we know and discover something new. And have you found what you were looking for? Her eyes held his with an intensity that made him feel like she could see straight through him. I'm beginning to think I have, he replied, surprised by his own honesty. Emergency in deep space. The 3rd day of their journey brought unexpected trouble. Dex was running routine system checks when alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The main display showed multiple system failures cascading through their vessel. What's happening? Kira asked, moving to stand beside him at the control station. Engine malfunction, Dex replied grimly, his fingers flying over the controls. We're losing power to all primary systems. The ship shuddered violently, and Kira stumbled against him. Without thinking, he caught her waist to steady her, and for a moment they were pressed close together. He could smell her scent, something like exotic flowers mixed with ozone, and feel the warmth of her body against his. The emergency pod, she said breathlessly. Can we make it there? Dex nodded, forcing himself to focus on their survival, rather than the way her proximity affected him. The pod should have enough power to sustain us until rescue arrives. They had minutes before the ship's life support would fail completely. Dex grabbed the emergency supplies while Kira secured their mission data. Together, they made their way to the escape pod, fighting against the ship's erratic movements as it tumbled through space. The pod was cramped, designed for emergency evacuation rather than extended habitation. As they sealed themselves inside, Dex activated the distress beacon and checked their supplies. They had enough food and water for maybe a week, but the pod's heating system was already showing signs of strain. Confined together, pod's interior was barely large enough for two people, with a single sleeping area and basic life support systems. As the temperature began to drop, Dex realized they were facing a serious problem. "The heating system is failing," he told Kira, checking the diagnostics. "We need to conserve body heat." Kira nodded, her breath already visible in the cooling air. "On my world, we have techniques for thermal regulation in extreme conditions, but they require—" She paused, a soft blush coloring her cheeks. "They require close physical contact." Dex felt his heart rate increase. How close? "Skin-to-skin contact provides the most efficient heat transfer," she explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "My people can share body heat in ways that yours cannot. It's a survival mechanism." As the temperature continued to drop, they had little choice. They moved to the pod's single sleeping area, a narrow space barely wide enough for two people. Dex tried to maintain some semblance of professionalism as they removed their outer clothing, but the confined space made it impossible to avoid touching. When Kira slipped under the thermal blanket beside him, wearing only her undergarments, Dex felt like every nerve in his body was on fire. Her skin was incredibly warm, and when she pressed against him, he could feel her heart beating in rhythm with his own. "Is this helping?" she asked softly, her breath warm against his neck. "Yes," he managed to reply, though he wasn't sure if he was talking about the heat or something else entirely. Growing attraction, as the hours passed, their initial awkwardness gave way to something deeper. Kira's alien biology seemed to enhance the warmth between them, and Dex found himself relaxing into her embrace. They talked quietly in the darkness, sharing stories and dreams that neither had ever told another person. "I've never been this close to a human before," Kira admitted, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. "Your species is quite fascinating." "In what way?" Dex asked, trying to ignore the way her touch was affecting him. "Your emotional responses are so immediate and intense. When you look at me, I can feel your feelings as if they were my own." Dex turned to face her in the dim light of the pod. "What do you feel from me now?" Her eyes met his, and he saw his own desire reflected there. "Want," she whispered, "and something deeper. Something that frightens and excites me at the same time." The space between them seemed to disappear as they moved closer together. When their lips met, it was like an electric current passed between them. Kira's kiss was soft and tentative at first, then more confident as she felt his response. "We should probably get some rest," Dex said reluctantly, though every fiber of his being wanted to continue exploring this connection. Kira nodded, but she didn't move away. Instead, she settled more comfortably against him, her head on his shoulder and her arm across his chest. "Tomorrow we'll be rescued," she said softly. "This may be our only night together like this." As she drifted off to sleep in his arms, Dex found himself hoping that rescue would be delayed just a little longer. He had spent his life exploring the vastness of space, but he had never discovered anything as fascinating as the alien woman sleeping beside him. The pod continued its slow drift through space, two hearts beating in unison as their separate worlds began to merge into something entirely new. The heat exchange morning came with a sharp drop in temperature that woke them both. Kira stirred in Dex's arms, her body shivering against his. The pod's heating system had failed completely during the night, and frost was beginning to form on the interior walls. "The temperature is dropping faster than expected," Dex said, checking the environmental controls. "We need to implement your thermal regulation technique." Kira nodded, her cheeks flushed with something more than cold. "My people call it the bonding warmth. It creates a biological connection that allows us to share not just heat, but energy itself." She moved closer to him, her hands warm against his skin. "There's something I need to tell you about my species, Dex. We don't just share body heat. When we form this kind of connection, it creates a temporary bond between our nervous systems." "What does that mean exactly?" he asked, though his body was already responding to her proximity. "It means you'll feel what I feel, and I'll feel what you feel. The warmth, the pleasure, the connection, it will be amplified between us." Her eyes searched his face. "Are you willing to try this?" Dex felt his pulse quicken as he looked into her galaxy-deep eyes. "If it means we both survive, then yes." What followed was unlike anything Dex had ever experienced. As their bodies pressed together beneath the thermal blanket, skin against skin, he felt a warmth that seemed to emanate from Kira herself. It started as a gentle tingling where their bodies touched, then spread through him like liquid fire. Kira's breathing became deeper. As she positioned herself above him, her silver hair cascading around them like a curtain. "The bonding is beginning," she whispered, her voice trembling with anticipation. When she kissed him this time, Dex felt not just his own desire, but hers as well, doubled and reflected between them. Her lips were soft and warm, and when she deepened the kiss, he could taste something sweet and exotic, like starlight made tangible. The bonding process, as the bonding warmth took hold, Kira's alien biology began to reveal itself. Her skin grew warmer, almost glowing with an inner light, and everywhere she touched him, Dex felt waves of pleasure that seemed to originate from both of them simultaneously. "This is incredible." He breathed against her neck, his hands exploring the curves of her body. "I can feel everything you're feeling." "Yes," she gasped, her back arching as his touch sent shivers through both of them. "This is how my people survive in the cold worlds of our system. But it's never been like this before?" "Never?" Dex asked, pausing to look at her. Kira's eyes were bright with an otherworldly gleam. "The bonding is supposed to be purely functional. Survival only. But with you, it's something more. Something beautiful." She moved against him, and the sensation was magnified through their connection. Every touch, every kiss, every gentle movement created waves of shared pleasure that built between them. Dex felt like he was experiencing intimacy for the first time, seeing it through her alien perspective while maintaining his own human responses. The pod filled with their shared warmth as they moved together, their bodies finding a rhythm that seemed to transcend their different species. Kira's alien grace combined with Dex's human passion created something entirely new, a dance of connection that was both tender and intense. When the bonding reached its peak, Dex felt their consciousness merge for a brief, shining moment. He saw himself through her eyes, not just as a human, but as something beautiful and worthy of love. At the same time, he felt her own vulnerability and desire, her fear of being alone in the vast universe, and her growing affection for him. Deeper revelations as they lay together afterward, the pod now filled with comfortable warmth. Kira traced patterns on Dex's chest with her fingertips. "There's something else I need to tell you," she said softly. "What is it?" "I'm not just a diplomat." She looked up at him, her eyes serious. "I'm a member of the Nexran Royal Council. This mission, it wasn't random. My people have been watching you specifically." Dex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Watching me? Why? Because you're different from other humans. Your genetic markers, your psychological profile, they suggest you might be compatible with our species in ways that go beyond simple diplomatic relations. Compatible how? Kira's cheeks flushed deeper. The bonding we just shared, it's supposed to be temporary. A survival mechanism that fades when the danger passes. But with you, I can still feel it. The connection is holding. Before Dex could respond, the pod's communication system crackled to life. A familiar voice filled the small space. Admiral Torres. Captain Morrison, this is Fleet Command. We have a lock on your position. Rescue ships are en route. Dex reached for the communicator, but Kira caught his hand. Wait, she said urgently. There's more you need to know. The research station we were sent to investigate, it's not abandoned. It's a trap. What kind of trap? There are forces in both our governments that oppose the alliance between our peoples. They arranged this mission to eliminate both of us. The station is rigged with weapons that will fire on any rescue attempt. Dex felt his mind racing. Then, we need to warn the rescue ships. Not yet. If we do, they'll know we survived, and they'll try again. We need to make them think their plan worked. The conspiracy unfolds over the next several hours. As they waited for rescue, Kira revealed the full scope of the conspiracy. Extremist factions on both Earth and Nexera had been working together to prevent the alliance between their species. The research station was bait, designed to lure key figures from both sides into a trap. They chose you because you're one of the few humans who could successfully bond with a Nexeran, she explained. And they chose me because I'm next in line for the throne of my world? You're a princess? Dex asked, stunned. I prefer to think of myself as a leader who happens to be born into responsibility, she said with a small smile. But yes, technically I am. The implications were staggering. If they had been killed in the supposed accident, it would have set back human-Nexeran relations by decades. But now, with the bonding connection between them, they represented something. Entirely new proof that their species could not only coexist, but thrive together. So what do we do? Dex asked. We turn the trap back on them, Kira said, her eyes gleaming with determination. But first, we need to complete the bonding. I thought we already did that. What we shared was just the beginning. A full bonding between our species creates a permanent connection, one that can't be broken by distance or time. It would make us partners in every sense of the word. Dex looked at her, this beautiful alien woman who had become so much more than just a diplomatic partner. And if we do this, then we become something new. Neither fully human nor fully Nexeran, but something in between. A bridge between our worlds. As the rescue ships approached, Dex made his decision. He pulled Kira close, feeling the warmth of their connection flare between them. Then let's build that bridge. Their second bonding was different from the first, deeper, more intense, and somehow more meaningful. This time, when their consciousness merged, it didn't separate afterward. Dex could feel Kira's presence in his mind like a warm glow, and he knew she could feel his. When it was over, they were no longer just Dex and Kira. They were something new, a bonded pair whose connection transcended the boundaries of species and politics. The rescue ship that docked with their pod was not the standard fleet vessel Dex had expected. As the airlock sealed and they were brought aboard, he immediately noticed the mixed crew humans and Nexerans working side by side, their movements coordinated with the precision of a well-trained team. Captain Morrison, Ambassador Voss, the ship's commander, greeted them. She was a tall woman with the distinctive silver hair of Nexeran nobility, but her uniform bore the insignia of Earthfleet. I'm Commander Vera Stanton. I represent a joint task force that's been tracking the conspiracy against both our worlds. Dex felt Kira's surprise through their bond. Neither of them had expected rescue to come from allies they didn't know existed. "How long have you known about the plot?" Kira asked, her diplomatic training taking over despite their unusual circumstances. "Long enough to know that your survival changes everything," Commander Stanton replied, leading them to the ship's briefing room. "The faction that arranged your supposed accident has been planning a false flag operation. They intended to use your deaths to justify breaking off all diplomatic relations between Earth and Nexera." The briefing room's main screen displayed a three-dimensional map of the Kepler sector with the research station at its center. Red markers indicated the positions of several ships, too many to be a simple rescue operation. "The station is indeed a trap," Stanton continued, "but not just for you. They're planning to destroy any ship that approaches and blame each species for the other's losses. It would effectively end the alliance before it could truly begin." Dex studied the display, his tactical mind already working through possibilities. "What's our move?" "That depends on you two," Stanton said, her gaze moving. "Between them, our intelligence suggests something significant happened between you during your time in the pod. Something that could change the entire dynamic of human-Nexern relations." The new connection Kira squeezed X's hand, and he felt her decision. Through their bond before she spoke. "We've bonded," she said simply, "permanently." Commander Stanton's eyes widened. "A full species bond? That's never been achieved before." "It's more than that," Dex added. "We can feel each other's thoughts, emotions, even physical sensations. It's like we're two parts of the same person." "This is unprecedented," Stanton breathed. "Do you understand what this means? You're living proof that our species cannot only coexist, but truly unite." Through their bond, Dex felt Kira's mixture of excitement and nervousness. They had become something new, something that had never existed before in the galaxy. The responsibility was enormous. "The conspirators can't know about this," Kira said. "If they discover what we've become, they'll do everything in their power to destroy us." "Agreed," Stanton nodded. "Which is why we need to be smart about how we handle the situation at the research station. They're expecting to recover your bodies from the wreckage. We need to give them something they'll believe." The Counter-Stricketh plan they developed was elegant in its simplicity. Using the Joint Task Force's resources, they would stage an elaborate deception. The conspirators would get their expected tragedy, but the real Dex and Kira would survive. To expose the plot dot as they approached the research station, Dex and Kira prepared for their roles. They would appear to be barely alive, rescued at the last moment from their failing pod. The conspirators would expect them to be weak and traumatized, perfect cover for gathering evidence. "Remember," Kira whispered as they prepared to transfer, "to a standard rescue shuttle, we need to act like the bonding was only temporary. They can't know about our permanent connection." "I don't think I can hide how I feel about you," Dex replied, touching her face gently. "You won't have to. Just let them think it's simple human attraction." The research station loomed ahead of them, its dark bulk silhouetted against the stars. As their shuttle docked, Dex felt the subtle wrongness of the place through his enhanced senses. The station was definitely occupied, despite appearing abandoned. They were met by a team of supposed rescuers, humans, and Nexerans who played their roles perfectly. Too perfectly, Dex realized. These people had been expecting them. Captain Morrison. "Ambassador Voss," the team leader said with rehearsed concern. "We're so relieved to find you alive. The station's medical bay is fully equipped to help you recover." As they were led through the station's corridors, Dex noticed the subtle signs of deception. Equipment that was supposedly non-functional showed signs of recent use. Sections that should have been powered down were clearly active. Through his bond with Kira, he felt her making similar observations. The revelation, the medical bay was a trap within a trap. As soon as they were inside, the doors sealed and the room filled with a gas designed to render them unconscious. But the bonding had changed them in ways the conspirators hadn't anticipated. Their enhanced physiology processed the gas differently, leaving them aware but able to feign unconsciousness. Finally, a voice said as figures entered the room. Dex recognized it immediately. Admiral Torres, the same woman who had sent them on this mission. I was beginning to worry our little accident hadn't been thorough enough. The bonding complicates things, another voice replied. This one belonged to an Nexaran, speaking accented English. If they formed even a temporary connection, they might have shared information. It doesn't matter, Torres said coldly. Once they're gone, we can blame their deaths on a tragic accident during the rescue. The Alliance will collapse, and both our worlds will be better off. Through their bond, Dex felt Kira's anger burning like a star. A betrayal went deeper than they had imagined. Torres wasn't just a conspirator. She had been one of the architects of the entire plot. The gas should keep them under long enough for us to stage the final accident, Torres continued. Make it look like a reactor explosion. No survivors. No evidence. As the conspirators left to prepare their deception, Dex and Kira silently communicated through their bond. They had the evidence they needed, but they were still trapped in a hostile environment with limited options. That's when Commander Stanton's voice crackled through their hidden communicators. Phoenix and Stardust, this is Eagle Eye. We're in position. Time to fly. The final confrontation, the next few minutes, were a blur of coordinated action. The Joint Task Force had been monitoring the station, and Stanton's team struck with precision. Timing. As emergency alarms began blaring throughout the station, Dex and Kira shed their pretense of unconsciousness. They fought their way out of the medical bay, their bonded connection allowing them to move with perfect coordination. When Dex went left, Kira automatically covered right. When she anticipated a threat, he was already moving to counter it. The station's corridors became a battlefield as the conspiracy's forces tried to complete their mission. But they were fighting not just against two skilled individuals, but against a bonded pair whose connection made them more than the sum of their parts. Admiral Torres made her last stand in the station's command center, surrounded by her fellow conspirators. You can't stop what's already in motion, she snarled as Dex and Kira confronted her. The Alliance is doomed to fail. Our species are too different to ever truly unite. You're wrong, Kira said, her voice carrying the authority of her royal heritage. We're living proof that unity is possible. One bonded pair proves nothing, Torres replied. You're an anomaly, nothing more. Then let us be the first of many, Dex said, taking Kira's hand. Through their bond, he felt her strength joining with his own. Let us show both our worlds what's possible when we choose connection over fear. A new beginning. The conspiracy's defeat sent shockwaves through both Earth and Nexara. The evidence gathered during the mission exposed the full scope of the plot, leading to arrests and reforms on both worlds. But the real change came from something much simpler, the love between a human captain and an alien princess. Months later, as Dex and Kira stood before the joint council that would govern the new alliance, they represented more than just diplomatic success. They were the first of what would become known as the bonded human Nexaran pairs, whose connections transcended the boundaries of species. The future we're building won't be easy, Kira said to the assembled delegates. There will be challenges, misunderstandings, and setbacks. But we've proven that when two hearts choose to beat as one, nothing can stand in their way. Dex squeezed her hand, feeling her love and determination through their bond. We started as strangers trapped in a survival pod, he added. We became something neither of our species had ever imagined. If we can do that, then together, our worlds can achieve anything. As they walked out of the council chamber, hand in hand, Dex reflected on the journey that had brought them here. What had begun as a simple mission had become a love story that would reshape the galaxy. And through their bond, he could feel Kira's thoughts echoing his own. This was just the beginning. The stars stretched out before them, no longer cold and distant, but warm with possibility. They had found each other in the darkness of space, and together they would light the way for countless others to follow Dot in the end. It hadn't been skin contact that was truly necessary for their survival. It had been the willingness to open their hearts to something new, something beautiful, something that proved love could indeed transcend any boundary, even the vast distances between.